Welcome to this week's edition of Everything Fast Pitch. This is another one of our summer mini pods. Want to keep the discussion going. We spent some time last time on the idea of analytics and how it's impacting hitters and the number of hitters that I believe are taking too many really good pitches in the idea of working for a walk. What I want to do is kind of build on that discussion, because here's the second part of why I think that can be a problem. When our focus is on getting walked and our focus is on making the pitcher throw more pitches, obviously we get pitch counts up. Obviously we do some things that are going to potentially maybe help our team be more successful in the long run. But here's another one of the negatives that I want us to talk about. Again, all of you who've listened to us talk know that as an old school coach, there are certain things that just drive me crazy. And one of the things that's always driven me the craziest and made me the most upset in the years of coaching is watching hitters take a called third strike. Now, I understand that when your goal is working for walks and trying to drive the pitch count up, that sets you up and creates the likelihood that you might get called out on a third strike. But it kind of comes back to what we were talking about the other day and why this whole strategy and this change of strategy is really bothering me as I watch these games. It breaks my heart to watch somebody who I know I can tell from watching them over the course of time, watching them play several games, that these are amazing hitters and people that have a chance to change the scoreboard every time they swing the bat. So why is that a bad thing? Well, it's not a bad thing that they have that ability. It's a bad thing when they waste that ability. And to my way of thinking, anytime I watch a hittable pitch go by without swinging, I'm wasting that ability. And especially in the world now of trying so hard to work for walks, that watching a very hittable third strike go by without even having a chance to hit it is really, really frustrating. And the coup de grace, the absolute bonus of all bonuses, I've watched some kids that I believe are really good hitters have 3 strikes called and never even swing. Now, we can discuss umpires and strike zones and all that stuff, all that we want. But the reality of it is, in the modern college game, at least, and at the College World Series level, pitches that are being called strikes are all hittable, because there's quite a few pitches that are being called balls that are also very hittable. Now, does it the hitter's dream pitch? Does it mean it's the pitch that the hitter is, laying in bed at night dreaming of getting a chance to hit? Of course, it's not necessarily that. But it's a pitch that we watch these same hitters in batting practice, in other games earlier in the year, in less pressure-packed situations, tattooing all over the park. So for that same hitter to watch a really hittable pitch go by, to me, is really disappointing and something that we have to address in this whole discussion. So is working for a walk a strategy that can help your team be successful? Of course it is. But again, to the point of, is a walk as good as a hit? You're never going to convince me that it is. And to me, a called third strike is not just an out, but it's almost like a failure in our approach. It's almost a failure in our attitude. In some ways, almost like an error on the hitter, especially for good hitters. But honestly, you're never going to become a good hitter unless you're up there trying to hit. So even if you're an average hitter, even if you're a bad hitter, to not get a swing is the absolute submission. It's me just giving up, saying, I don't think I can hit this. And that, to me, is really the biggest problem. If we want kids to be great hitters, they've got to believe they can hit. If we want hitters to be great hitters, they've got to believe they can hit almost anything. Now, that doesn't mean they should swing at everything, because that's a really big difference, but they have to believe they can hit almost anything. And if they're up at the plate thinking, well, that pitch is 1 inch outside the strike zone, I'm not going to swing at it. That pitch is 3 inches outside my dream zone, I'm not going to swing at it. Then we're really limiting their potential. We're hurting their development. And honestly, we're hurting them becoming hitters. So the thing I get all the time is people say, well, this must be working. Look how many hitters are hitting so well. You've got all these hitters in the college game that are hitting 400 and 350 and hitting all these home runs. Well, there's lots of things that contribute to that. We're going to talk about the strike zone here in a couple of episodes at the college level, and definitely at the highest level of the college game. But to me, that's just part of the discussion. But we want to make sure that we come back to the key point. For hitters to be great hitters, they have to hit. For hitters to be changing the scoreboard and to make a difference, they have to be ready to hit. And the idea that there are so many great hitters now, even though so many of them are taking more pitches, to me is not a convincing argument. I'm not convinced that they're hitting better because they're taking more pitches. I'm wondering, with the current state of the strike zone and the fact that the strike zone is a much more favorable situation for hitters to hit, is how good would they be hitting if they were more aggressive? You have a hitter, maybe one of the Oklahoma or Florida or Texas hitters that are hitting 400, but they're also getting walked a lot. Well, what would their batting average be if they were aggressively attacking more of those pitches? I think instead of saying, hey, this proves that what they're doing works, what we should be doing is looking at it, is this proving that what they're doing is making them less successful hitters? And again, is it kind of crazy to say a hitter who's hitting 400 or 450 might be limiting themselves because they're looking for walks too? Yeah, I think it's a reasonable argument to make. I watch some of these hitters that are hitting so well, that are clearly capable of hitting almost anything. To watch giving up the opportunities to hit because they're trying so hard to get walked is really disappointing. And when it leads to a called third strike, that's a sin. And so watching a great hitter take a called third strike because they're so busy trying to get walked just breaks my heart a little bit. So I want them to be more aggressive. I want them to be hitting, and I want them to be hitting much more often, especially these difficult situations where they have a two-strike count. So that's going to wrap up this mini pod. Let's plan on getting together again next week. We're going to make sure that you still support our sponsors, the Anderson Bat Company, Bittinger & Stiles DDS, EAS, Elite Sporting Goods, Pinnacle Power Butter, and Action Coach. Please become a patron if you can. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch and become a patron. Go to the fastpitchprep.com website, order your Square Cuts training discs. Make sure that you check out the YouTube channel and the blog posts. There's tons and tons of information available to you there. And we want to make sure that you stay in touch with us over the summer. So make sure that you reach out to us at everythingfastpitch@gmail.com or fastpitchprep@gmail.com. Either of those email addresses will work. And we would like to keep the Player of the Week nominations coming in also. So if you have an opportunity to reach out to us, that'd be great. So that's going to wrap up this mini pod. We'll talk to you again soon.